All right, everyone. Welcome back to episode 111 of the 580 show. Myself, Frawley, Dante. What's up, boys?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good freaking morning.
111 weeks straight. No sign of stopping anytime soon. Um, I think we got a really good episode uh, in for everyone this week. Um, little couple 580 updates. New horsepower, little updated site section on the site coming soon, and just an overall new website. Um, I kind of realized our website, if you've ever looked at 580barbell.com, the only real update we've made in the past 2 years has been just the horsepower.
Right.
And like, so everything like pictures, um, information, everything is from 2020 with the when we first opened. And a lot has changed, especially physically to the location. We probably have 20 new machines, a full new dumbbell set, more racks, more bars, 40 foot more of turf. You guys get the gist of it. And so just updating that and just kind of explaining to people one thing I run into a lot is that yes, we're 24/7, 365, but to members, we are
Right.
24/7, 365. So a trend that has been happening recently is people look at the website, they see we're 24/7, and they show up at 3 in the morning expecting someone to be there, at the front desk and that's not their fault. Some people don't understand how a barbell club works, and I can't, expect everyone to understand that. So just trying to get it on the same page. So be on the lookout in the next week or so, hopefully for a fully revamped 580 site. Um, but yeah, do you guys have anything? I mean, in strongman 580, before I get into some topics I wanted to talk about this week? Not a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
I talked with you guys a little bit yesterday about it. I watched the Bricktown Showdown yesterday. It was the USS Pro show. It was live streamed on YouTube. So the presentation looked really good. Seemed like there was actually pretty good level of competition there. Um, I I thought they did an awesome job. Seemed like it took a while, but I think whenever they only really had one competitor going at a time. So it took a little while to get through the show, but it really wasn't too long though. I think maybe 5, 6 hours, which
It's not.
overall is not terrible.
Yeah, it's not that
So
bad.
yeah, that's pretty
the
good.
presentation looked awesome. So I commend that. That looked really cool. The live stream was really good. They had commentary that was they kept up with all the events all day long. Um, yeah, it was a pretty good presentation. And then Britain's Strongest Man was yesterday, but I
Hmm.
didn't get a chance to watch any of it. So
Pretty
Yeah,
sure Adam Bishop won
I
that
just saw
one.
I just saw the results.
yeah,
I didn't watch any of it. I will say, like, I was thinking about it actually, Frawley, when I was watching, because I watched about maybe an hour or so of the Bricktown
yeah,
showdown yesterday.
yeah.
And you actually touched on something I wanted to talk about with it is I think there's a give and take to it. Like, their presentation was awesome.
It
And
looked really good.
I think sometimes it's better to run a show in 6 hours, 7 hours.
Yep.
If you're having this awesome presentation, like there's a lot of cool stuff I took from that live stream that I think we can learn from and implement moving forward, in the future. Like in between events, like I really liked what we did with the December show, like just having like a screen and say like showing them like what was coming up next. But they had commentators and
hmm
they would scroll Iron Podium. Like they would have three screens and they'd be scrolling Iron Podium and they would be like, okay. So then the commentators are getting like a real time perspective to communicate with the people listening. Like, oh, that first place finish from Jason Frawley bumped him up to second, and
Right.
he's got, and they were just able to kind of like, even in the downtime, react and respond to what was going on in real time, even
hmm
with nothing actually going on at the show.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I thought their presentation looked really cool. It looked to be in maybe like a convention center or
Yeah.
something like,
Something like that with high ceilings. I mean, they had to have high ceilings with the bag toss, but
yeah.
yeah. hmm hmm
But no, that was really cool. I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. I think it's awesome to see, um, and that's a pro show, but it's
Right.
not a show like Britain's Strongest Man or,
Right.
one of these huge
Right.
shows. I think it's so cool to see all these shows starting to adopt the live stream approach,
Yeah.
even if you don't use a professional streaming service like ADL, like, just give people something to watch and I think it's really cool. So
There was a
yeah,
decent.
that
Wasn't
was
there a
awesome.
decent payout too?
Was there?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what the payouts look like.
Neither do I, but I
I'm
know
pretty
there.
sure that.
I think it
Yeah, they
started
gave.
at 750 for like first place or something.
Okay,
That's
I
cool.
do know that they had cash prizes. Now they also did event wins. If you won an event, you got a check too.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
I should say I don't remember if it was each individual event or if it was specifically the Iowa Stone, that was cool. They had a Husafel carry for max distance, but it was actually the Iowa Stone because it was in Iowa, like the shape
Yeah.
of the state, but a Husafel. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That was one of the few events I got to watch.
Yeah.
That was awesome. If I believe the pro guys, theirs was pretty damn heavy.
It was 350. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
pretty
heavy.
heavy.
Yep.
But yeah, overall great show. I don't even know who ran it, but great job to whoever ran it because I tuned in for a little bit. I
It
actually
was
commented
Earn,
on the stream
the
too.
barbell, the gym that put it on was Earn Not Given Barbell.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, I mean, 580, nothing really going on, just waiting for upcoming stuff. We're still training for the Arnold.
yeah.
Um, and that's really it. We'll probably talk about the Arnold almost every episode leading into it now, just because I noticed from nationals, like when we were leading into nationals, we were talking about it every week, and we started to grow people who were prepping for nationals because they could relate to us.
Sure.
So do the same for the Arnold because I had a couple people reach out and said they were enjoying it the last couple weeks. So yeah, I'm excited. Dante, you feeling good for the Arnold?
I'm feeling better every time. I'm really just kicking my butt with conditioning right now, so
Yeah.
I feel like
They
over time it's gonna get pretty. Once it comes down to the meat and potatoes of the actual event, it's gonna translate pretty well.
yeah, they actually I guess one thing we could talk about was they updated the odd object loads
Yes, they did.
this week. So we actually competitors for the first time. We don't have to speculate and guess, and it's pretty unique. And I understand it from a logistics standpoint. I think it's really smart what they're doing. So like Dante and I load the same Husafel,
Mhm.
and like the same hydrant and the same cube, but like they're in different orders in our medley.
Right.
So I think they just do that to have like some to just help with logistics, I would assume.
Yep.
But yeah, the implements are a Mauser block, a keg, a sandbag, a fire hydrant, I don't know how to say the cube, a base bo- boss cube,
Boss Cube, I think.
a Husafel, and a Hazara stone for the heavyweights. Only the open only.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, really, really interesting odd object, and we know that we don't have to actually run with it. It's just right at the platform. Um, so yeah, um, tough event to train and to replicate, obviously identically, but it's an odd object load for sure. I think they accomplished what they wanted. Some uh, some pretty heavy weights in there. Like I have to load a 320 Husafel.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah,
That's pretty heavy
the
for
Basque
lightweight.
Stone will be interesting too, or the Basque Cube.
What's the height you guys are loading to?
48, isn't it?
48.
48
Yeah, so
inches.
48 is a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially with something like a Husafel. Getting to the bottom of a Husafel to load.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've never done it, but I mean, it
So
seems like it would be pretty difficult. Which is, I don't know. I kind of like that. Like I like the uniqueness of the objects.
yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. I think in Dante, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the power keg was the only one that we were required to stand upright on the platform. I
I didn't
believe
look too into that, but it might be
I
the case.
believe all the other implements were allowed to just be loaded. Like a Husafel, you can load and it can
Okay.
fall over, whatever. But the power keg is the only one that we are required to actually stand up upright on the platform
Yeah.
when we load it.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think a lot of competitors that finish this are going to get good points,
Sure.
but who knows?
I feel like that's the way for most of these events, dude.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the farmers is going to be a full out sprint in my class. I don't think there's gonna be many that don't finish it, but yeah, there's some tough events at the Arnold, but really excited to see everyone there. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about the odd objects real quick because that was some news we got. We should be getting mystery event here at the end of February, right? Middle end of February,
18th, I think.
18th of February.
I think it might be a squat. That's my guess.
I don't think.
No, they did that last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it'll be a deadlift, just because we're doing power stairs after that, and we do fat back deadlifts day one.
Maybe a yoke. I don't know. We'll see. It's, in my opinion, it'll be something. The mystery event will be something like cool, visually pleasing because it's up on the main stage.
Right.
What about
So you're not going to do something like boring and it doesn't look like. Look at power stairs and circus. They're both pretty cool events to watch.
Yep.
So I would imagine it's going to be something that's cool for fans to watch because it's up on the main stage.
maybe
But
like a sandbag
handbag
toss?
toss? Yeah. Maybe, but who knows? If you have an idea, comment on the video and let us know what you think it is. I'm curious. I'm curious what we would be leaving out and what we might just be obviously missing. So yeah. Anything else in the strongman world? Just recent news, anything like that?
I just want to get into like what you guys are doing right now in prep. Like, what's your prepping look like? You're about 5 weeks out, 6 weeks out. Like, what are some things that you guys are doing to maintain your workload, maintain your body, keeping your body healthy? And like, how's your rest look? Like, is there anything specific you guys are doing to try to stay on your tip top game for the remainder of prep?
I'll let Dante speak on it as well, but what I really start to do now that we're getting closer to a contest is I dial my nutrition in. Dante and I both compete in weight classes, so we want to make sure our cuts on point and we're not overcutting, and obviously we're not missing weight. And as far as training, the only real thing that changes for me, I think, is just the frequency and the volume of doing the events. I'm doing the events a lot more. I'm pressing twice a week on a specific implement. I'm doing all the other qualifying events, and I'm touching the finals events just to stay sharp in case I do make the finals. And that's pretty much a long story short, and like I said, it ties into a topic that this ties into a topic I want to talk about, but I'm curious what Dante has to say about his training as well as we're getting closer.
Yeah, I just had a meeting with my coach the other day, and we're just going over some final touches right now for this block of training, which is basically like conditioning and technique work. Then we're going to slowly transition to putting some more heavier weight in before the final couple weeks, and really just dial in the events. That's pretty much how it is. As far as nutrition goes, I'm doing pretty good right now. I woke up at 254. I obviously let myself go after the last competition, but I usually always do that, not to go into the same caloric deficit I usually go into, but weight's coming off faster this time. It seems like every time I do these cuts, it just comes off a lot faster. So feeling very confident. Hopefully I don't have to sweat this time, but if we have to sweat, do what we got to do.
And like Froly, it's a really hard question to answer because it always depends on what does that athlete need. Like, okay, what going into this contest, like, is this athlete looking at like doing like reps with an implement, or is he looking to just get one rep? So like if it's an athlete that may be like weaker on these weights or this specific event, you may never touch contest weights until the contest. But then some people, if you're really good in an event, you may overload and touch, 110% of the contest weights. And so, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So obviously, obviously it varies per person and what that event is, but
Yeah, this is gonna be like, I think, the heaviest show I've ever done. Probably the heaviest show for you too, Josh.
Which it should be.
So like we're definitely getting that aspect of things, like what it feels like to actually prep and do a higher level show.
Is there anything like specific that you guys do though that's focused on like recovery that you might go a little bit more? Like
I started doing yoga.
Okay.
And I do like ice baths in the morning just to see if that will help a little bit. But other than that,
honestly, I don't
usually business
I don't
as usual.
change anything.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. I was just curious, like, because this is when you're starting to get in the meat and potatoes, right? Like this is the toughest part of prep is pretty much right now.
Yep.
So if there's, any little tips and tricks, and I mean, you really should be practicing those things to help you recover all the time, right? It shouldn't just be whenever prep ramps up. So, but
I like to go for walks. I like to go for walks a lot and just like stay active. Like even on my rest days, just go for a 30-minute walk just so like we all get caught up in work and everyone has their jobs and stuff. And you may be more like just seated all day. So just getting that like walk in is something as simple as that. That helps me a lot.
Sure.
Um, uh, you guys actually both. So Frawley, when he brought it up, and then Dante talked about talking to his coach, is a topic I want to talk about that ties perfectly into it. Is just trusting your coach.
Yeah.
So I just think that this is such an important topic. I talked to someone at the gym about this before training yesterday for probably like 30 minutes, and we're talking about how much we enjoy our coaches and just how far buying in goes. I think buying in and believing in your coach goes such a long way. If I truthfully in my mind believe in what I'm doing and believe in the person that's helping me do it, I think that goes so long. I think that goes so far. Like
Absolutely.
um there's no special secret formula. I think it's just putting the work in. Obviously, train. There's smarter ways to train,
Yes.
but believing. If you don't believe in your coach and like you're always questioning it, you know, you're gonna have a hard time.
Hmm.
And just being on the same page with your coach. Put it this way: you have your coach for a reason, right? Like you have them for a reason. You hired them, whether it's
You pay
you
them.
wanted whatever. You just believe in them, trust them. If something is in your mind wrong, just talk to them. Just
Yeah.
talk to them. And that's really what I wanted to say about that. It's awesome. I know on my behalf, I know Dante is we have coaches that we believe in and we can communicate with 24/7. I know it's helped me over these last like year and a half. Like it's helped me just completely evolve as a strongman athlete.
Sure.
It takes the stress off of life. I don't doubt that 90% of people are capable of coaching for themselves that have been in strength sports for 2 years or plus.
Hmm.
But it's not always advantageous. You overthink, you overanalyze, you stress, you try to over program for yourself because you're overthinking it. And being able to just shut your brain off and do what your coach tells you is the best feeling ever. And that's when I've gotten my best results. So that was just something I wanted to talk about real quick. I
Sure.
don't know your guys' thoughts on it.
No,
Pay a coach
I
for a
fully
reason.
support that.
That's how I
Yeah.
feel. You pay a coach for a reason. So,
Right. Yeah,
listen to him.
it's funny, even with me coaching people, they're like, "Oh, I did this instead of this." It's like, okay, like, hey, sorry, like you don't have to be sorry to me. Like
Yeah.
I'm putting on paper what I think is the best plan for you.
Right.
And if you wanted to do a single or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's 100% fine. But that's not what I had programmed for you. Don't apologize to me because on that Saturday that you're competing, it's not
Exactly.
gonna be me up there.
Nope.
It's gonna be you.
Right.
Um, yeah, people tend to blame their coach sometimes, but
Yeah. And I
yeah.
think I think the one thing you said too, talking with your coach and providing feedback is not necessarily being confrontational, right? Like
No.
I think a lot of people think like, well, if they question their coach on anything, on why they're doing things, like it's considered, well, it's the coach's rules. Well, like you still need to provide adequate feedback to your coach. Like if
Yes.
you have something going on or something that like doesn't feel right, or whether it's pain, whether it's a movement just isn't meshing and gelling the way that it should be, you have to communicate that because there's no way to remedy it if you don't say anything.
Right.
a
I
hundred
mean,
percent.
you got to
And I
say it.
Right, and I think there's a right and wrong way to do it, right?
Sure.
Like, don't
Yeah.
be a dick. Don't
Right.
be a dick.
Right.
Like, if you're my coach and you had me doing Kozak squats, and
Right.
I'm like, man, like it feels like my knee is gonna freaking just fall out.
Right.
Like you're to the point where it's like you're either doing it wrong or you have an injury.
Right.
Obviously, if you're hurting to the point where you're injured or it's something that is actually uh affecting your training, you need to say that to your coach. Don't try to
Yes.
be that tough guy or girl that's like, oh, I'm hardcore, I'm a strength athlete. Like, speak up because your coach, online coaching is tough because
Right.
it's online, they're not there with you,
Right.
like um So yeah, but don't be confrontational. Just say, hey, now if they're ignoring you, it's probably time to find a new coach.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, anytime I've taken on a new athlete here recently, the first thing I do is ask them if they have any injuries.
Right. You
And
have to.
that's the number one thing I ask because you have to know. Um, and everyone's in a different part of their journey, and the last thing you want to do is hurt someone. So
Right.
yeah, I having a open line of communication with you and your coach is such an important thing. And be a good client, be coachable. And that's going to go so far. In your coaching, whether they use an Excel sheet, they use an app, leave notes.
Yeah.
Like I know personally when I sit down for my weekly programming, having notes go so far. Like,
Right.
oh, hey, I was supposed to hit a triple with this weight, but for whatever reason I could only hit a double. Okay, maybe it's time to deload, or maybe it's time to dial back a little bit, or send me a video of it. Maybe it was a technical breakdown. Be transparent with your coach. That goes a very long way. That's a great point, Frawley. Um, another topic. This might be controversial a little bit, but there was something today, and there's a post by a strongman, and I don't know their full name, but it was a great, great, great post. I'm gonna DM them after this and tell them I talked about this a little bit. But what do you guys think the qualifications to run a strongman competition should be?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a great question, and there's no right or wrong answer. This is just an open forum for it. But it is crazy to me that anyone can run a contest. And
True.
trust me, that is not me talking down on people. It's not. Um, I just uh, we're in a sport where you can severely hurt yourself,
Mhm.
and hurt other people, and you may have 100% full great intentions,
Yeah.
a heart of gold, but you just don't know how something's going to happen, and you can get someone seriously injured. um and I like the idea of a requirement has to be approved by your state chair, and a state chair
Yes.
has to be there, because
Yes.
if I think the requirement should be that a state chair or a deemed qualified representative from the federation, USS or Strongman Corp, should have to be on site. I
Agree.
think that's 100%. And I don't know enough if that is. I know with Strongman Corp that's the deal because I'm involved with as a state chair with them. I don't know with USS. I would hope that is the deal. It probably is, but I think that's a bare minimum. There should be, and they should have to approve, sign off, all the bells and whistles of each event.
I mean, does that go on now where people are hosting shows without a representative there?
I don't know. I
That's
just don't know.
I'd be curious if that was the case because there's there's got to be somebody there's got to be somebody there that represents the organization. I would think. I mean, if there
You would
isn't,
hope so.
I feel like that should be commonplace.
I
I don't
agree.
know.
I agree. I just like I've received as a state chair like weight matrices that were just clearly just not correct. And
Yeah.
there's no standardization in strongman, so correct may not be the best word, but they may not be
Up
I'm
to
trying
current
to
standards.
they may not be appropriate, the weights.
Sure.
Like they're
Mhm.
either going to be way too heavy or just extremely too light. Usually they're just
Uh-huh.
extremely too light.
Right.
And 99% of the time the director is like, "Oh, okay, I just didn't know." Um, they're not familiar with a certain class and they change it. But there's those hard-headed people out there that want it their way, and but yeah, I was just that had just come to my mind.
Yeah,
And
I think on the flip side, you don't want to tell people no about hosting competitions.
oh, 100%
Really, if
because it's
somebody
so.
wants to, you want to help them.
Yes. And obviously unsanctioned, there's nothing you can do. You just hope that
Yeah, yeah,
this unsanctioned person, and a lot of people don't like federations, but one of the beauties behind federations is that it is supposed to uphold standards.
Mhm.
sure.
Like you're paying for that membership fee, which everyone knows sucks,
Mhm.
but but in return you are competing under a actual business um, that has standards. They have records, they have qualified judges, they have a qualified meet director, and so in theory, with those federations, your overall experience is supposed to be better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's the give and take of paying that membership fee is that meet director has more um uh just more tools at their disposal.
Sure.
They can lean on people, and but if you're doing an unsanctioned show, just know what you're getting into. A
Yep.
lot of unsanctioned shows are great, but just do your homework. That's all I would say. I'm not ever going to discourage people from doing a unsanctioned, a show at all. But
Right.
you're 100% right. Strongman is more available than ever, and I'm never going to discourage someone from doing it.
Right.
I just worry about lifter safety.
Yeah, you want everybody to be safe too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that was just there's a
It's a good
great
question.
post about it, and it was just such a great question.
Yep.
Like just every once in a blue moon, maybe once a quarter, two times a year, something like that. I'll see an event and you're like, man, like, how did this slip through the cracks? And I'm never gonna call it out on a public level. Like, I'm not here to bash anyone,
Right.
ever. Because
Right.
I'm not perfect. I may,
Yep.
I've learned a lot through trials and tribulations at shows, running shows. But it's just like, man, it's just you scratch your head and you're like, how, how many people did this get past?
Yeah.
Like I I think I'm lucky in the sense that I've got a lot of people around me that like if I wanted to do a dumb event, you guys would be like,
Nah,
nah,
we're
dude,
not
like
doing
Yeah.
that one.
it's like we did. Okay, so the perfect example is we actually have a real life example. You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about, Frawley, right?
Yep. I already know where you're
So
going with it.
yeah, so our first year as a gym, we did an in-house show called 580 Strongest, and we had 15, 18, 20 people compete, and it was a gym show only. It wasn't sanctioned. It was just a fun day. It was
Yep.
essentially our Christmas party, to be honest. And so the way we did it was we did a random drawing for all four. It
Mhm.
was four events. So we wanted a press, a deadlift, I think a medley, and a random mystery event. And so we did overhead, and we're we're live on the podcast, and Atlas Stone Press was the one that got selected. And we're live recording the podcast. So I think internally we're all like, shit, that
Yeah.
sucks. Like we should in hindsight, we shouldn't even have put it in,
Right.
But it
Right.
got selected and then we put it in the thing and then we got to thinking, I think, very quickly after
We can't
trying it
do
a little
this.
bit, like we can't do this.
We can't
We
do
can't do
this.
Atlas Stone Press. Like we just cannot do Atlas Stone
Especially
Press.
not for new people.
Mhm.
Yes. And like even just in general, like trying to press a stone and it's just you're bang for your buck. It wasn't worth it. So we tried it, talked to all of us, and we made the decision like, no, it's just way better to do log. So we switched
Yep.
it to log. And like I said, I'm lucky that to have you guys and other people around that's like this just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
So that's that's what I think about it. But yeah, just it was just such a great post. And sometimes I'm just scrolling on Instagram and I just see someone's post that's in strongman and I'm like, wow, I want to talk about that on the pod. So
Mhm.
here we are. I actually saw another thing on Instagram scrolling with Anthony Oliveira. And if you don't follow powerlifting and you only follow strongman, Anthony Oliveira was a top powerlifter at Westside. He owns a company called Trigger Warning Conjugate. He coaches. Honestly, Anthony is one of the greatest people I've met in strength sports. And I'm lucky to say that I've got to meet him in person 3 or 4 times probably.
Sure.
And I actually got to sit down with him. And dude just cares. And he cares about powerlifting only. I actually, when I first opened a gym, I asked Anthony if he'd help me with strongman coaching, and he said, "No, I only focus in powerlifting. That's just not my lane." So he's intelligent enough to say, I don't understand enough about strongman. I want to stay in my own lane of powerlifting. But he went on a huge rant on his podcast about powerlifting and the toxicity in it. And
Mhm.
strongman's the exact same way. We all know that.
Yep.
I think 99.9% of people are great and
Mhm.
amazing. I think
Mhm.
that's with anything. you know, Frawley, you're newer to strongman too,
Yep.
and the one thing that people always say, and it irks me, is like strongman is so nice, and it's so friendly, which it is. It's so much friendlier in powerlifting, but that's not what I've found. I think they're both equally friendly and everyone cares the same. Maybe you had a bad experience at a powerlifting meet. Um, but I think powerlifting and strongman are both super friendly and super everyone's there to help each other and be friends, and because you've all struggled through the same thing.
Right.
Now, you get those random hardos at anything, at strongman, powerlifting, but long way of saying, Anthony went on this rant about powerlifting and how much he cares about it. And if you don't love powerlifting, then he wants you out of the sport. And I feel the exact same way about strongman. I think 99.9% of people are great people. They're positive. They're awesome. Sure, we get caught up in the heat of competing. You get frustrated. You may throw your belt down or something. That happens. That happens in
Yeah.
anything when you're competing.
Yeah.
But I feel the same way. Like, if you don't actually like strongman, like you don't enjoy it, we joke all the time at the gym, like, strongman suck. But I love strongman and I love strength sports. And I think like people that hate it, genuinely hate it, like you're just making the sport toxic.
Sure.
And like I think that's like I don't know why someone would ever want to do something that they hate. And they just sit there and they bash and they don't want to evolve that sport to a new level. And I think it's sad because you see these people. Probably you don't have Facebook, but like starting strongman, you'll see a post and it's a new guy. Like I'm talking really new, maybe done strongman for 3 months, and he says something and it's like, would I ever say that? No, but this person doesn't know better. It's just
Mhm.
Right.
it's just
Hmm.
a uninformed opinion that they have, and you see 10 comments and everyone's like, hey man, it's actually done this way, or hey man, it's actually
Right.
this, and it's all super helpful people jumping to it. And then you have that one guy like, man, what an idiot. Like, it's like, dude, this guy's 20 years old. He's never been to a strongman comp. Like, just help. Like, why do you need to be a dick to this
Yeah.
person?
Yeah. I
You know what
don't.
I
I
mean?
don't.
Like,
I never understood that. Why people can't just go out of their way to just correct somebody. And you could correct somebody like, hey man, I know you had a question about this, but I just wanted to reach out to you and see if I could help you understand this a little bit better. Like you
yeah,
can. You people think like just because someone posts something on a social media forum that like they're attacking them as a person. Why can't you
right,
just reach out to the person and say, "Hey, man, I saw you post that, but I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about it and see if I can clarify some things for you." Like it's not that big
right.
of a deal. It's normal communication. You would do
Yeah.
the same thing in person.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
DM more people than I have commented on posts.
That's what I
Like,
mean.
just like, hey man, my name's Josh. Like, I compete in strongman. Um, this is don't worry about people's negative comments. Like, this is how it's done, and that's
Yeah,
it.
that's
Like,
it.
people spend so much energy being negative, and look, I'm so thankful for people 10, 15 years ago in the sport that were doing parking lot comps
Sure.
and were driving 8 hours to their local meet because that was the closest meet.
Right.
Mhm.
But dude, times are changing, and if you want the sport to stay that way, like I think that's really sad. I think that's really sad. Like I want more people in it. I want to keep growing the sport, and I want to make the sport more available to everyone, and that's our goal. And it's just sad people stuck in 2000 with strongman. It's really sad.
Sure.
You know,
Mhm.
just because it doesn't matter. There's a viral for our niche thing, but
Yeah.
I forget who posted it too, but I know Andrew Clayton responded to it, and he's like, don't be this person. It was someone saying they were talking about they caught themselves saying like, oh, strongman doesn't matter, this doesn't matter anymore, because it doesn't matter to you
To
anymore
you, exactly.
doesn't mean it doesn't matter to that first time strongman competitor or the
Right.
person that's still super passionate about. So don't bring people down
Yeah.
just because you're bitter and you don't love it anymore. Like, that's so toxic. Like,
Mhm.
Sure.
just encourage people. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
that's it.
Strongman doesn't matter, and the whether it's strongman, powerlifting, whatever it is in life, like if you've fallen out of interest to something, it doesn't matter to you anymore. It's
Right.
not people who do like it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter to them.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And
Well,
that's
it's
what
like,
it boils down to.
yeah, who are you to tell anyone in the
Exactly.
world that
Exactly.
something
What
doesn't
matters.
matter?
Yep.
Just because it doesn't matter to you. I'm not gonna look next to our gym. There's a model train club.
Yeah,
Guys
right.
do what we do on Saturdays. They go and they do
Yep.
model trains. I don't bash in there and like, dude, you guys are stupid. Model trains don't matter because they're not coming down to strongman and be like, look, lifting these rocks doesn't matter. Like, yeah, those
To you.
train guys probably don't give a shit about strongman, and I don't give a shit about trains. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't matter to me, and vice versa.
Yep.
So I you can pick up the theme if you're listening this week that I picked up a lot on Instagram this week.
Yeah.
I just thought there was really good comments. I think there's some really good topics on
Yep.
Instagram and stuff. Um, and yeah, I I like picking up stuff like that. And it's great topics. People smarter than me, like Anthony, talking about stuff like that. I thought it was a great
Sure.
rant. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to talk about. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the USPA stuff. That's not my lane to talk about.
No.
That's a rabbit hole. I know people have DM me personally talk like, dude, what's going on is horrible. I'm not as involved in powerlifting anymore, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that I'm not
Aware of it.
disavowing it.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
We're
I'm
well aware of
disavowing
it.
all of that stuff.
Yes.
And I think it's horrible. But I'm just not well read enough into it to to do a full podcast episode about it. And our lane's really strong, man. So but yeah, horrible stuff, obviously. But you guys have anything else you want to talk about this week?
I don't think so, man. We
Yeah,
got the regional, right? Sign up.
Yeah.
Battle at the Bridge, sign up. Deadlift Championship, sign up.
Yeah. Polar Express 2 will be live in the summer sometime. I got so everyone that's asked me about the weight matrix, I'll try to do the weight matrix like by next weekend for Battle of the Bridge and regionals. It's just I'm gonna put a couple stones we don't have. I'm gonna put the estimated weight in there for it, just so people can stop DMing me about it. And then I'll finalize the bridge like hopefully by like next Saturday or something like that. Get some more people trying it out and everything. I just don't want to throw out BS numbers and then change them anyway. And then it'll be
I
done.
just gotta make another meme about you with the skeleton saying waiting for the matrix.
It's
That'll get
just
you motivated.
it is just wild how many people want to know the exact weight 6 months out.
Right.
And I'm not trying to. It's just be patient.
I mean, that just holds. I don't know. I like to see the weights before I sign up for a show. That's me personally, but I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about as well.
but you know what they're going to be roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can throw a dart and guess.
Like I'm not going to
Man.
have a 175-pound dude do a 900-pound deadlift.
Come on.
Like
Yeah,
you
come
know
on,
what I mean?
Josh.
Like
Live a
you're
little.
gonna have a pretty
Yeah.
damn good idea. But yeah, anyway,
22-inch
I'll
deadlift,
try to-
Josh. 900
But
pounds.
no, we had a decent amount of signups. I think we're almost at 20 for each event right now. So
Cool.
40 signed up to compete on June 24th,
Cool.
and then almost 20 at the 580 deadlift championships too. So
Yeah.
no matter what your thing is, I would really like to see the 580 deadlift championships get to 100 people. Like actually at that day 100 people there deadlifting. I think that
Sure.
would be so cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, sign up for our events, buy some horsepower, and yeah, comment on the video. Let us know what else you want to talk about. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys all next week for episode 112.
Peace.